Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I'm Jared Stein. I'm the Vice President of Higher Ed Strategy for Instructure, and I work on Canvas most days. I'd like to welcome you all to Partner Day. We're really excited that you guys are all here and that you'll be able to hear some cool sessions from some of our partners and think a little bit about the future of education in terms of the growing ecosystem that we're trying to foster. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about our approach to working with partners in general, some of the technical side, some of the pragmatic side, and then give you guys a look at our relatively new skill for the Alexa platform. Now, let me start by kind of explaining part of why I was so excited to join the Canvas team a few years ago. I had worked in online course development for a long time, and I had a team of instructional designers and technologists who were getting pretty good at figuring out how to use the LMS that we had to create more social and interactive experiences. But inevitably, every once in a while, we would work with a faculty member who wanted to use publisher content or activities on a publisher site with their online course. And that was always a dilemma for us. In one particular case, we really had to make the tough choice between using the publisher materials inside of their system where there were other interactive activities, but nothing like discussions, nothing like peer review, or trying to pull that content into the LMS and make a seamless user experience. And there really just was no good way to do it at the time. This was before Canvas, this was before Common Cartridge, and before LTI. And so when we looked at that dilemma of kind of having everything that we wanted in terms of course design and interactivity and control over the environment versus giving students a simple experience on one platform where they didn't have to go back and forth, the choice to me was really obvious. And we had the faculty member work just in the publisher system and sacrificed a lot of the things that we thought were good for the student experience, for the learning experience, in favor of simplicity, in favor of the user experience, because that stuff can get in the way of the learning that you want students to accomplish. So from that moment, I took on the attitude that we would do what's right for the learners, and that's carried over into my experience here at Instructure, where we've focused on building Canvas out as a platform that works with partners, but also anyone who wants to build their own technology. So when we think about Canvas as this open platform, there are three main components of that from a technical perspective. One, there's our open API, which is really robust. Anybody can go look at the documentation. If you have access to Canvas in any way, you can use that open API. Yeah, even if you're a student, right? You're limited, of course, to the data that you would normally be able to get through a web browser, but you can use that open API, and we think that that's an important way to empower DIY innovation. We also adhere to web standards. We use JavaScript. We always avoided Java. Even the little bit of Flash that we've used, we've figured out how to get rid of. And then finally, IMS standards. IMS Global is a consortium that works to focus on technical standards, build technical standards that educators, partners, vendors, anybody can adopt and use between systems. So here are some of the benefits coming up on screen that we believe in, some of the goals that we are aiming for as we build out the open platform capabilities of Canvas. Empower DIY innovation, so anybody can build on Canvas without permission. Encourage new ways of teaching and learning, ways that we haven't thought of, ways that the future will need us to discover and implement. But also, keep Canvas simple. We want to focus our efforts on the parts of Canvas that are most impactful to the core learning experience, most adopted by everyone, but also have that ability to create an ecosystem where any instructor, any instructional designer can find those new ways, can find new tools, and use the content they want inside of Canvas. And then finally, over on the right, we believe in learning through community. And that's both by participating in IMS, by having that open API where people can build their own tools, and learning and sharing that goes along with that. So these are some of the key goals that we have in building out the open platform capabilities. And oh, hey, slides are jumping all over the place. I love it. This is going to be fun. And one of the challenges, though, that we've encountered, or that I think anybody who has worked with standards has encountered, is this idea that we can build a perfect standard that creates these opportunities for different tools, different systems, different content to interoperate. That doesn't mean that people are going to use it. Now, when we're looking at how Canvas works with partners, the main IMS standard that we usually talk about is LTI. The good news is that with LTI, yeah, actually people have used it. This is the growth of LTI-based tools that are available to plug into Canvas via the Edu App Center since we launched it in 2013. So today we're well over 300 LTI-based apps in the Edu App Center. Many of these are partners. Some of these you will hear from, and this is growing. So LTI as a standard has really picked up. Other standards may struggle to get traction. Some standards, we have the best intentions for, and we have to take a step back when adoption is low. But ultimately, our philosophy as we look at the different standards that are proposed and developed is to give the people what they want, and then go have a hamburger. But when I say give the people what they want, I'm really talking about that dilemma which I faced and my team faced when we were building online courses. There was no good solution for that faculty member, and certainly no good solution for students. There was real pain and real educational opportunity lost by not having that third way, that way out of the dilemma. And so there was a lot of potential for LTI. There was a lot of industry and user clamor for a solution that would make that seamless. Folks maybe didn't know exactly what they wanted it to do, but or what they needed it to be, but they knew what they wanted it to do. And so yeah, I think in terms of developing any standards that are used by vendors, you have to give the people what they want, and you have to keep it simple. And that's what we're trying to do. So we're really active in the IMS consortium, working on the next generation of the LTI standard. So even though, Judy here says, give the people what they want and then go have a hamburger, we're not quite ready to go have that hamburger. There's still a lot of work to do to make the relationship that we have with our partners, the experience that users have working in Canvas and working on these different systems seamless and very rich in terms of the data passed back and forth. So we're not there yet, but we've made some really good progress, and we're continuing to extend Canvas in ways that kind of push the limits of LTI and encourage our partners to not just take advantage of LTI, but also look at other ways that we have made it possible to integrate with Canvas, such as the Open API. So I want to give you a few examples of partner integrations that we have built, or really ways that we have extended Canvas's use of LTI to make a better end user experience inside of Canvas in conjunction with partners. And I think of these as standards progressive integrations. Sometimes it's a very simple way that we look at Canvas and say, how can we take advantage of LTI better? In the case of Office 365 and Google for Education, these are both LTI-based integrations that let teachers and students share files from anywhere in Canvas, create new collaborative docs that they can invite their classmates to with just a couple of clicks, submit assignments, and even collaborate on assignments via SpeedGrader. The way that we made this integration a little more robust than a simple pass-through LTI authentication is by changing the ways that Canvas loads LTI and putting LTI in different places inside of Canvas, so that it really did sort of reach out beyond, hey, it's just another tool on your left nav, but now actually it's available through assignments, it's available as a submission, it's available through files, etc. Here's another example, which is much newer. In fact, I know we have our partners in the plagiarism space working on this new framework, but I don't know how widely this news has spread beyond those partners. So there are a number of Canvas partners that are kind of in this integrity checking space, this plagiarism prevention space. Turnitin, Unicheck, Vericite, and in the beginning, we had to have a custom plugin for Turnitin that we had to maintain, and we would have had to build a custom plugin for Unicheck and Vericite. But once LTI began to get adopted, these vendors decided that was the way to go. Problem was, it didn't create a really good user experience as compared to the sort of proprietary plugins that we had before. So what we've done is we built a new LTI-based assignment framework for these plagiarism tools to use so that teachers can create assignments, trigger the plagiarism detection tool as students submit their assignments, and still use SpeedGrader or the provider's tool if they want for all of the feedback and evaluation. So it's a seamless experience, but you still have the advantage of that integrity check. And the really cool thing about this advancement of LTI in Canvas is, it certainly was designed with these plagiarism tools in mind, but we did build it to be more broadly applicable than that, because we do know, and we have seen examples of partners or even third parties that we're not quite working with yet, come up with really cool ways of helping students, use assignments differently, helping teachers evaluate assignments with different tool sets or different capabilities. And we want to make sure that it's possible to make that part of what still is, I think, the most popular part of Canvas, SpeedGrader. And then there's one other kind of integration, which I want to talk about a little bit today with you guys. It's an integration with a third-party platform like Amazon Alexa. And we don't do a lot of these integrations. That is to say, the kind of integration where we on the instructor end proactively build an integration with a third-party system. SISs aside, right? Student information systems aside. But when we think there is a real strategic advantage to doing so, and we understand that maybe just having an open API and waiting for people to come is not enough. And also when we're really interested in experimenting beyond the boundaries of what has been possible in ed tech in the past, yeah, we will invest some time and energy in building an integration with a third-party tool like Alexa. Now, Alexa, which is a voice service, is pretty cool technology, and sometimes we are tempted to just go after shiny, cool new tech because it's novel. But with a little bit of discipline, we can keep ourselves focused on student outcomes and solving real-world problems. And in this case, we sort of started from our broadest goal, which is to increase student engagement in K-12 and higher ed, because there's plenty of research that suggests that engagement within the course, within the learning experiences, contributes to students' long-term academic success. And there's one study in higher ed that looks at how even engagement in a single class can predict whether or not those students graduate. So we care a lot about how our technology facilitates engagement, primarily by making things easier to do and more flexible. But we also understand that engagement requires participation. And that's why Canvas is not just available on your browser, on your computer, but why we have native mobile apps as well. We want to lower that barrier for students and teachers to engage with materials, with each other, and with the work of learning. And that's where this skill for Alexa comes in. We know that we're competing for students' attention. This classroom, if you look closely, has all of the students dutifully taking notes on what's happening in front of them, or not, right? Like, I think if you look at the screen, all of the students are doing something different on their computer that is probably unrelated to what's happening in class. That's a problem in and of itself, but the point is that in the 21st century, in this connected age, we're constantly competing for attention. And one approach is sort of the push approach, where you're sending notifications, you're giving nudges to students, and we're looking at how we can do that. The other approach is sort of the pull approach, where we simply continue to lower the barrier to the information that students need to stay engaged and stay connected. And so when you think about Alexa, which is really the voice service, and you think about some of the ways that Alexa is available to users, you probably think of the Echo device like this one on screen, or like this little dot that I'm holding in my hand. So these Echo dots, these Echo devices, they might sit in your room, they might sit in your office, and basically you just ask Alexa to do things for you, to give you information, or to play your music, or whatever it might be. And so as we talked with students and we talked with teachers, we began to paint this picture of how students might actually have some real advantage in using Alexa through an Echo device, or through their mobile phone, or whatever. So you think about a student perhaps coming home from a long day at school, and maybe they come home, they get a snack, they might sit down, and as their mind unwinds, they might turn their attention to what they have to do the rest of the week, or what they might even have to do tomorrow. And so we thought, wouldn't it be cool if a student could just kind of pull the information out of the air and ask Alexa, hey, what do I have due tomorrow? What is my grade in English? Am I missing any assignments? Just small little things that can help them either relieve any potential stress that might be building, or focus on the tasks that are most urgent for them. And one of the ways that we sort of developed confidence in the investment in the Alexa skill was just data that shows that users, and students included, are becoming more comfortable using their voice to interact with and control devices. And I imagine most of you have used Siri if you have an iPhone, or the Google Assistant, or Cortana even on Microsoft devices. They're getting better at voice recognition. They're getting better at serving up information so that those interactions that we have are more and more natural. So we were super encouraged. We did a lot of problem validation with users. We brought teachers, students, even parents into the office, went out and visited them. We asked them to imagine different out-of-class scenarios. What do you want to know about your courses? What do you worry about? What do you need to know each day to stay on target, to become more engaged? If you could verbally ask and have an instant answer, what would you ask and how would you say it? So, we did our homework, and I think we came up with a sort of medium-sized list of intents that we could build, and then we kind of pared it down for the MVP. It might sound like this was a lot of work, but we actually did this really, really fast with an extremely small team. We had a couple of engineers who wanted to work on this aside from their normal duties. And so they often did work on this in the evenings or in the weekends because they were just excited about it. And part of why they were able to do this so quickly is they just used existing APIs that Canvas already had, right? They did the same sort of thing that any of you guys who are developers might do, and just tapped into the APIs that are available. And then we had one product manager, Matt Goodwin, who was super excited about the project and kind of blazed the trail and led everybody on the path. So we did this in a couple of months, and it wasn't a full-time endeavor at all. And what we ended up with was something that I think is really easy to get started with, but I'll share some of the feedback we got from the users that was informative to us. We knew that we didn't want to force institutions or teachers to install anything inside of their Canvas course to make this possible, that this was an end user choice in the same way that a user could choose to use an iPhone or an Android device. And so we wanted authentication and authorization to be very, very simple. And as you can kind of see on this screen, if you choose to use the Alexa skill, then you basically go through the same authentication process that you would for Canvas, and that creates a token, or you can see the Canvas Alexa app here listed on my profile page, which you can disable at any time if you decide you no longer want them to have access. And so then it came a matter of coming up with those those intents, the things that students would ask and get information on. Like I showed you, I do have my Echo Dot right here. We're going to give it a shot. Now, I've done live demos of the Alexa skill 5 times now since we launched it in late July, and it has worked flawlessly every single time except for the last time. So let's hope that there's not a jinx and that this is going to work just fine. So, rolling your mind back to that student situation where they might have a few casual moments where their mind turns to their coursework, what are the kinds of things that they might ask? And I gave some examples earlier, right? Like, what do I have due tomorrow? So let me ask Canvas a few things here. Alexa, ask Canvas, what do I have due this week?
Monday, January 22nd to Sunday, January 28th. On Thursday, January 25th, Paris Expatriates essay. Anything else?
Okay, I hope you guys can hear that. It's a little bit quiet coming through.
What can I help you with?
Okay, we'll do it a couple more times. I turned the volume up here just to make sure. So I asked if I had anything due this week, and the Canvas skill for Alexa responded with any of the assignments, due dates, or events that are currently on my Canvas calendar. So it's a mere reflection of what's in Canvas already. And it told me that I had one assignment due tomorrow night at 11:59. Let's ask if I have anything missing, right? Because aside from upcoming due dates, which I know I can act upon, I'm probably stressing about anything that I might be missing that maybe I have a chance to make up. So let's ask that. Alexa, ask Canvas, do I have anything missing?
Yes, your assignment named Algebra 2 Polynomial Practice Quiz is missing. Also, your assignment named Algebra 2 Inequalities Quiz is missing. And one more. Anything else?
Okay, I think that audio is coming in loud and clear.
What can I help you with?
Oh, thanks. But you can get a sense of how this works. And again, the teacher doesn't have to do anything special. It's a mere reflection of what's already happening in Canvas already. And it's all done with the Canvas skill talking to the Open API. We'll do a couple more real quickly. Alexa, ask Canvas, what are my grades?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Alexa, ask Canvas, what are my grades?
Here are your grades. For 20th century American fiction, your grade is not posted yet. For Algebra 2, your grade is 70. Anything else?
Do I have any new announcements?
You have no announcements. Anything else?
No.
Goodbye.
Okay. Hey, that worked perfectly. We do have a number of intents that we created specifically for students. Here's a quick view of those. What's due tomorrow or due this week? Do I have anything missing? Are there any new announcements? What's my grade or what are my grades? And you'll notice on that last one, I put on screen, what's my grade in English? And my requests to Alexa in this example have all been really general, but you can also be pretty specific. You can say for a specific day of the week or for a specific course, and the skill will recognize those just fine. And there are a number of ways that you can state these intents or these requests and have Alexa understand them. And then we do have one intent that we developed for teachers. Of course, new announcements would work for teachers as well, but it's not terribly meaningful. It's how many assignments do I need to grade? And one of the ways that we're looking at, making Canvas more productivity focused and, stress alleviating for teachers and for students is by helping them kind of have a continual pulse of their progress in their course and the amount of work, not just the quantity, but maybe even the quality of work that they have to do in the near future. And so I remember, being an adjunct faculty member myself at one point, when I thought about the weekend, my first thought was, well, how many assignments do I need to grade? And it turned out that resonated with other teachers as well. So that's kind of a snapshot of the Canvas skill for Alexa. We rolled it out late July, and we learned some lessons. So, hey, we've gotten some really positive feedback, and we've gotten some negative feedback too. The lesson that we learned immediately from just the reviews in the Alexa skill store is that we didn't give very good instructions on how to set up your Canvas account. We sort of thought that would be obvious. You would use the URL of your Canvas instance. Turns out that's not always straightforward, and that it actually matters if you use HTTPS or not. So we got a lot of negative reviews just because people couldn't activate it and they couldn't link to their Canvas account. We also got some negative reviews because folks in other regions apparently were super excited about trying it out, and we hadn't rolled it out for UK at that time, and some folks simply weren't able to make it work in region. We have since figured that out, and the next region for us to roll this out to is Australia and New Zealand. So we're excited about that. There is also one other piece of feedback that we received from primarily from administrators, but folks in IT cared about this as well, and that was the question of privacy in higher education. And the scenario that most commonly was shared with us is, what if a student was sharing an apartment or a dorm with another student, and they had an Echo device, and they had enabled the Canvas skill for Alexa? Wouldn't that allow their roommates, or really anybody who came to visit them, the ability to say something like, "What's my grades?" and embarrass that student, or potentially violate their privacy? And we weren't ignorant to that scenario when we developed the skill. We did talk with students about that. We did think about that deeply ourselves, and in order to develop the MVP, we said, hey, this is a skill that users have to choose to install, and we'll make it as clear as possible what this skill does and how it works, so that users are well informed. And if they're in a situation where other people have access to their Alexa account, maybe through an Echo device, they shouldn't use that skill. That, I think, is good enough for an MVP. We have an item on the roadmap to add an additional layer of security to it through the use of pins. So that's next on the roadmap. But all feedback is good feedback. This is one of those developments that is new technology that not everybody is comfortable with, but we believe that interaction via voice, interaction sort of ubiquitously with the world around you, is becoming increasingly common, and we felt that the time was right to start moving in that direction and developing a track record and an understanding of that, knowing that there would inherently be some weaknesses or some discomfort that we could address as we go. So the Canvas skill is now live at alexa.amazon.com. You can go out and try it out. It is one example of an integration that we built with a partner for the benefit of our users. But I believe that all of our partners and the partners that you will hear from today kind of share that same vision that we share, that technology's role is to make things easier for teachers and students, to save us time and save us resources, to make the learning experience more flexible, and hopefully more engaging as well. And that's the key, I believe, to what EdTech can do in support of student success and in recreating the learning experience so it's better for everyone. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I know you're going to have a great time today at Partner Day, learning about some of our partners, discussing new ways that technology can support the student experience. I hope as you do so, you share some of those ideas with folks that you might know at Instructure or with other people in the Canvas community. So thank you for your time, and let me check in to see if there are any questions. Okay, B-Ray, I don't know how you want to handle this. I'm just going to look at the chat, scan through, unless you can. No, there's not a lot of questions. Let me just kind of scan through this. Lots of people asking about Google Home. Yeah, Google Assistant. And that's a great question. So let me do one thing first, because there's Google Home, which, like the Echo device, is the device itself. But then there's the voice service, which is Google Assistant, just like Alexa is the voice service. So we just have to build for the assistant, the voice assistant, not for the actual physical device, and it will work across them. We haven't started working on anything for Google Assistant yet. Alexa is more popular right now. Looks like that might be changing. My experience shopping around Christmas time showed that Google Home was really pushing hard into the market, and that might be changing. So we aren't working on Google Assistant right now. We don't have anything on the roadmap for Google Assistant, but we do believe that the work that we've done for the Alexa voice service should translate pretty easily to other voice services. Okay, and somebody from Alamo asks, are there stats on how many students have Alexa-enabled devices and the demographics of Echo owners? Yeah, there are. Amazon does have data on that. They weren't really willing to share it so that we could share it publicly. There are. I would just refer you. I mean, honestly, I would just Google it, because there are a number of industry analysts who have looked at the adoption of Alexa-enabled devices, and probably some on demographics. I don't know that they've drilled into students, but I could be wrong. Okay, and a friend from Northwestern asks, do these integrations follow one of the IMS LTI specifications, or are these just enabled for Canvas? Let me ask you to clarify on that. That may have come in earlier in the presentation before I started talking about Alexa. Maybe that was in reference to one of the other partner integrations like Microsoft Office 365. General integration, yeah. So all of those examples where I had specific partner names, Office 365, et cetera, those are true LTI integrations. And the progressiveness of our incorporation of LTI there really has to do with the placements. With the assignment framework, I do believe there is usage of the Canvas live events feature, which is caliper compliant, but I think is specific to the data that we produce. But if you'd like more detail, happy to follow up with somebody on our platform team who's maybe a little more in the know about the technical details of that than I. Okay, Stacy Manning, what's the easiest way to run discussion posts to turn it in directly from Canvas? Gosh, I don't know, Stacy. Sorry. I don't know if that's possible, but we can follow up. So B-Ray, if you have any ideas on what channel we should run that question through, maybe it's just through the community, let me know. Or if that's something that I need to pass on to Carl or the platform team, that's fine as well. Thank you. Can Alexa reach content, even act like a screen reader? Great question, Ira. It could, but a couple of things to keep in mind. One is that today, I would say, voice assistants are designed for quick grabs at information, like bite-sized information. And so even though I think conceivably we could deliver text content that could be read, I don't know that we would want to. On the one hand, it would be kind of slow and inconsistent depending on your network connection. And we've already seen that with the teacher intent, where we ask Canvas, how many assignments do I need to grade? That works fine until you have like 100+ assignments, because then it's just a ton of data for Canvas to process and to pass to Alexa, and it kind of can catch up. I think we would experience the same thing with content. The other thing that I will say about content from sort of a learning science perspective is, on the one hand, it is good to have content in different forms in sort of a multimodal form, especially if you're not able to read what's on screen. But I don't know that Alexa or an Echo device is sort of the right format for the kind of reading or consumption of content that students that students would benefit from most, or that teachers want students to experience. It just may not be the right mode for consuming content that needs to be deeply processed. But that's just my opinion. So I think we will continue to look at all of the different ways that voice services can support students with Canvas. That's one that we just were so ambivalent about, knowing there's some technical challenges, knowing there were potentially some pedagogical impact ramifications, that we decided not to go down that road. Audra, have there been any updates to the skill since fall? In testing, we found that she read the title of the announcement, but not the body, which would be more useful. Yeah, and we actually had that in our short list of things for the Alexa skill to do. So there have been a couple of updates since the fall. We did not build that in, and here's the reason why. So this is tough. The reason why we chose not to have Alexa read the body of an announcement is because announcements can contain rich content. They can contain video, which we wouldn't be able to parse. They can contain, images. They have all sorts of formatting. And we felt that, at least for the MVP, we didn't want to take the chance of delivering information to students that was incomplete if it might impact their performance in the course, if that makes sense. Because, once you have read an announcement in any form, right, Canvas knows that and marks it as read. So even if you just consumed it on, through the Alexa voice service, it would be marked as read. And even if there was additional stuff there that you needed to follow up on that you didn't get through the Alexa reading, it may not be as prominent for you. So we decided not to have it read the body, but just grab the announcement titles for now. But I appreciate that feedback. And I guess this conversation, both on the content and the announcements, is a chance for me to kind of talk through some of the design challenges that we encountered or thought through, because it wasn't just, hey, we can work with Alexa and let's do grades, right? Like, we did kind of think of the breadth and depth, and a lot of this came up through user interviews, some of these ideas, and we just had to, make the tough call on some of them for now. So I guess that was the last question. Boy, thank you so much for joining, and thanks so much for these really fascinating questions. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day.